Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to give my review of Survivor Series 2006. Starting off the evening, we're going to our first match of the night. It is Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Ron Simmons, and Dusty Rhodes versus the Spirit Squad. Number one, I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Ron and Mikey starting the match for both of their respective teams. Ron Simmons hits a devastating power slam on Mikey. Both Ron and Mikey fight on the outside. Referee counts to 10. Ron Simmons is now eliminated from this match due to countout. Mitch is also eliminated in this match due to disqualification. Arn Anderson was sitting ringside. Referee throws Arn Anderson out of this match due to interference. Flair lands devastating chops. Slaughter then applies a Cobra Clutch. Johnny hits an Enziguri on Slaughter. Nikki goes for the cover. Pins for the 3. Slaughter is now eliminated from this match. Dusty hits an elbow drop on Nikki. Pins for the 3. Nikki is also eliminated from this match. Kenny then hits a roll-up on Dusty Rhodes. Pins him for the 3. Dusty is now also eliminated from this match. Flair and Mikey both exchange in the middle of the ring. Flair quickly hits a roll-up on Mikey. Pins him for the 3, and Mikey is also eliminated from this match. Flair then hits a roll-up on Kenny. Pins for the 3. Kenny is also eliminated from this match. Flair and Johnny both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Flair ultimately applying a figure 4 leg lock. And your winners of the match are Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Ron Simmons, and Dusty Rhodes. Hats off to Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Ron Simmons, and Dusty Rhodes for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is for the WWE United States Championship. It is Chavo Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Chavo and Benoit, with Chavo keeping the pace of the match. Benoit hits 3 devastating German suplexes on Chavo in the middle of the ring. Chavo gets up, though, hits a frog splash off the top rope on Benoit for a near fall, but Benoit ultimately applies his signature crossface on Chavo Guerrero, and your winner of the match is Chris Benoit. Hats off to Chris Benoit for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is for the WWE Women's Championship. It is Mickie James versus Lita. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Mickie and Lita, with Lita keeping the pace of the match. Lita and Mickie both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Mickie hitting a devastating fisherman suplex on Lita. Lita gets up, hits a moonsault off the top rope on Mickie for a near fall, but Mickie ultimately hits a DDT on Lita, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, new WWE Women's Champion, is Mickie James. Hats off to Mickie James for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is another traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is the Hardy Boys, CM Punk and DX versus Johnny Nitro, Gregory Helms, Mike Knox, Edge, and Randy Orton. Number one, I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Shawn quickly hitting a super kick on Mike Knox. Pins him for the 3. Knox is now eliminated from this match. Matt Hardy hits a side effect on Johnny Nitro. Punk then applies an Anaconda Vice on Johnny Nitro. Nitro taps out. Johnny Nitro is now eliminated from this match. Orton and Punk both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Orton hitting an RKO on CM Punk. Matt then hits a Twist of Fate on Helms. And then Jeff Hardy hits a Swanton off the top rope on Gregory Helms as well. Pins for the 3. Gregory Helms is now eliminated from this match. Shawn then hits another super kick on Edge, pins him for the 3. Edge is now eliminated from this matchup. And Triple H ultimately hits a pedigree on Orton, pins him for the 3. And your winners of the match are the Hardy Boys, CM Punk, and DX. Hats off to Hardy Boys, CM Punk, and DX for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It's a first blood matchup. It is Mr. Kennedy versus Undertaker. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Kennedy and Taker, with Taker keeping the pace of the match. MVP is here. MVP ends up throwing Kennedy into the ring. MVP then hits Undertaker with a chair shot where he meant to hit Mr. Kennedy and missed. Undertaker is busted wide open. Referee ends up seeing this. And your winner of the match is Mr. Kennedy. Hats off to Mr. Kennedy for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's another traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is MVP, Test, Umaga, Finlay, and The Big Show versus RVD, Sabu, Bobby Lashley, Kane, and John Cena. Number one, I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Cena and Umaga both starting the match for both of their respective teams. Cena and Umaga both exchange in the middle of the ring. Umaga ends up hitting RVD with a monitor off the announce table. Umaga is eliminated from this match due to disqualification. Kane then hits a chokeslam on MVP. RVD then hits a frog splash on MVP, pins him for the 3. MVP is now also eliminated from this match. Test then hits a big boot on RVD, pins for the 3. RVD is also eliminated from this matchup. Sabu then hits a springboard DDT on Test, pins him for the 3. Test is now also eliminated from this match. Show then hits a chokeslam on Sabu, pins him for the 3. Sabu is now also eliminated from this match. Finlay then hits Kane with a shillelagh with the referee being distracted. Big Show then hits a chokeslam on Kane, pins him for the 3. Kane is now also eliminated from this match. Lashley hits a devastating spear on Fit Finlay, pins him for the 3. Finlay is now eliminated from this match. Cena then hits a 5-knuckle shuffle on the Big Show in the middle of the ring. And then Cena hits his signature FU on the Big Show, pins him for the 3. And your winners of the match are RVD, Sabu, Bobby Lashley, Kane, and John Cena. Hats off to RVD, Sabu, Bobby Lashley, Kane, and John Cena for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is the main event of Survivor Series 2006. It is King Booker versus Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Booker and Batista, with Booker T keeping the pace of the match. But Batista ultimately hits Booker with the title. Referee doesn't see this. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match, and at that time, new World Heavyweight Champion, is Batista. Couple of things I want to say about Survivor Series 2006 before I get out of here. Number one, Survivor Series 2006, man, from top to bottom, was not a bad show at all. I think it was a solid Survivor Series with a lot of good traditional Survivor Series matchup. You have the opening matchup with pretty much Legends versus the Spirit Squad. You have Ric Flair, Slaughter, Ron Simmons, and Dusty Rhodes versus the Spirit Squad. I actually enjoyed that matchup, man. It was always great to see the Legends, a little bit of nostalgia, if you will. And to see Ric Flair teaming up with Dusty Rhodes was absolutely awesome. You also have as well Mickie James versus Lita. I thought that was a relatively good matchup as well. Chavo versus Benoit for the U.S. Championship was also a really good matchup. And like I said, man, the traditional Survivor Series matchups were really good with, you have Legends versus the Spirit Squad. Then you had the Hardy Boys, CM Punk and DX versus Johnny Nitro, Gregory Helms, Mike Knox, Edge, and Randy Orton. I also thought that was really good. And then the main event between King Booker and Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. And then if Batista did not win that matchup, he would never be able to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship again. So hats off to Batista for getting the win in that matchup. As far as giving Survivor Series 2006 a solid rating from 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 6.5 at best, man. Like I said, this was not the best Survivor Series, but this was definitely not the worst, man. There's actually some solid matches on here, and the main event was really good. And plus, like I stated earlier, the traditional Survivor Series matchups were actually really, really good. So I'm going to have to give Survivor Series 2006 a solid 6 or 6.5 at best, man. But this is my review of Survivor Series 2006. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.